Susana Lamas, Barranquilla, and Tomas Cipriano de Mascara's first presidential term lecture, Mascara, Barranquilla, Susana Lamas, and the Power Dynamics of His First Presidency. This lecture answers 4 specific historical questions. When did Tomas Cipriano de Mascara go to Barranquilla during the Susana Lamas scandal? Did he continue governing from there? Who was his vice president during his first presidential term? What were the political dynamics inside the government? All information below is based on documented historical references, contemporary institutional records, and reputable historical sources. Where certainty is limited, that is stated clearly. Part 1. Did Mascara go to Barranquilla because of the Susana Lamas scandal? There are historical accounts, especially later biographical studies and family histories, stating that during his first presidency, Mascara temporarily removed himself from Bogota amid controversy related to his relationship with Susana Lamas. Some sources specifically connect this episode to Barranquilla, then an emerging Caribbean commercial center. What can be said with confidence is this. There was a period during the first presidency, commonly placed around 1847, when Mascara was absent from the center of government. Later accounts link that absence to the scandals surrounding Susana Lamas. Barranquilla is named in some narratives as the place to which he withdrew. What cannot be stated with certainty from surviving official records is the exact day of departure, the exact legal form of leave, whether the move was formally announced as scandal-related. So the most accurate conclusion is, around 1847, Mascara appears to have temporarily distanced himself from Bogota, and later historical sources connect this withdrawal to the Susana Lamas controversy. Part 2. Why Barranquilla mattered. Barranquilla was not random. During the 1840s, it was becoming increasingly important because of river access through the Magdalena system, Caribbean trade routes, relative distance from Bogota, political gossip circles, commercial opportunities tied to Mascara's economic vision. Mosquera later promoted Barranquilla as an export point with customs access during his presidency. This means Barranquilla offered political distance, commercial relevance, easier connection to coastal networks. Part 3. Did he continue to run the country from Barranquilla? There is no clear evidence that Mascara formally governed the republic from Barranquilla as a remote executive headquarters in the modern sense. 19th century states operated through written correspondence secretaries, delegated ministers, vice presidential or acting authority when absent. What is historically likely and supported by the administrative structure of the era is that he remained president. Routine administration was handled through ministers in Bogota. Orders could be transmitted by letter. Daily governance became less direct during his absence. So the best factual answer is he likely retained formal presidential authority, but practical governance would have depended heavily on ministers and constitutional substitutes while he was away. Part 4. Who was the vice president? During Mascara's first presidential term, the vice president was Rufino Cuervo y Barrero. He was an important conservative intellectual and statesman, father of the famous philologist Rufino José Cuervo. This is politically significant because Cuervo had also been a presidential candidate in 1845 before Mascara won the congressional decision. That means he was not merely a subordinate appointee, he had his own political standing, he represented an alternative current within elite politics. Part 5. How was the relationship between Mascara and Rufino Cuervo? There is no strong evidence of a dramatic public rupture during the first term, but the relationship should be understood as functional, cautious, and politically layered. Why? Because Mascara and Cuervo were different kinds of men. Mascara was military, energetic, personalistic, ambitious, pragmatic. Cuervo was known more as civilian statesman, legal mind, conservative institutional figure, more restrained temperament. This suggests a classic 19th century power balance. Mascara supplied forceful leadership and executive energy. Cuervo supplied constitutional legitimacy and continuity. Part 6. What happened during Mascara's absence? If Mascara withdrew from Bogota for a period, the vice president and ministers would become more important. That would mean Administrative papers processed through constitutional channels, ministers exercising greater autonomy, elite factions testing influence. In many Latin American republics of the era, temporary presidential absence often strengthened vice presidents, cabinet ministers, congressional blocs, so even a short absence could shift internal power. Part 7. The deeper political dynamics. Mascara had entered office by a narrow congressional margin. He therefore needed family alliances, Heron network support, conservative cooperation, administrative stability. A personal scandal plus temporary absence risked weakening all four. This is why the Susana Lamas episode mattered, not because of tabloid morality, but because it threatened discipline, elite, trust, predictability of rule. Part 8. Did Cuervo benefit politically? There is no firm evidence that Cuervo openly exploited the scandal. However, structurally, any vice president becomes more relevant when a president is weakened or absent. That means Cuervo's influence likely increased during periods of Masquera's reduced engagement. Part 9. Final assessment. The most accurate historical summary is this. Around 1847, Masquera appears to have temporarily withdrawn from Bogota. Later sources connect this to the Susana Lamas controversy. Barranquilla is identified in some accounts as the destination. He likely remained formal president, but governance depended more on ministers and Vice President Rufino Cuervo. The episode weakened presidential prestige and increased the importance of other power centers. Final reflection. Masquera's first presidency was built on authority, family networks, and personal command. When his personal life disrupted that command, the republic did not stop, but power began to flow elsewhere. End of lecture.